Hello everyone. In today's video lesson, we learn about operating system subject, which is introduced for the final year computer science students. So in this subject, the topic which we are going to learn today is design and implementation issues of operating system and different operating system structures available. So here we are going to learn what are the design issues involved in operating system and how the implementation is done and different operating system structures available. Let's get into it. An operating system. So we'll just to recap what is an operating system. An operating system is a software which provides an interface or a service to the user programs. User programs can be implemented with the machine. So the person who involves in between is called an operating system. So in turn, operating system supports to access all the information of user program. So there are different types of requirements needed for implementing an operating system. So the requirements will be differed from a simple to a complex. So before going into the design issues, so we'll just have an introduction. So an operating system design and implementation we'll just see. So here an operating system is a construct that allows the user application programs to interact with the system hardware. So what are the application programs? Application programs are the programs which we use, like our C program is an application program. Your ePass software is an application program. So what does an operating system do? An operating system is a construct. It's a construct that allows the user application programs. It can be any kind of an application program to interact with the system hardware. So it helps to interact our programs with the system hardware. System hardware can be anything. It can be RAM, it can be a processor, or it can be an input-output devices. So it makes some convenience between a system hardware and the user program. So next, operating system by itself does not provide any function. It does not provide on any function by itself, but it provides an atmosphere. That means it provides a situation in which different applications and programs can do useful work. What kind of applications and programs? They are nothing but our user programs, like my C program, like my Oracle. So whatever I want to perform with my system. So the different applications. So an operating system provides an environment to work with the system. Because an operating system provides different kinds of services, like the memory management, device management, security. These are all the services provided by operating system. So it provides an atmosphere where our user programs can have some useful work with our machinery. Because my program, if I want to execute my program, it has to handle, it has to go to the processor, it has to go to the memory, and it has to work with an IO devices. So this is all done. This monitoring, this execution, this loading, unloading, execution, everything is handled by operating system. Right? So next, so the many problems which occur while designing and implementing OS are covered in operating system design and implementation. Many problems Many problems. What kind of problems? It can be different operating systems. We have seen different operating systems. Batch operating system, time sharing operating system, multi-user, multi-programming. So in different scenario, your operating system is working in different way. So while designing, the developer has to handle all these kind of issues. So this is all handled by design and implementation. This is all handled in the design and implementation. So the design can be done like this. So you can see here your kernel inside, kernel followed by memory management. So everything is layered. That means they are all organized. Memory management, next input output. That means the devices connected, mechanical input output devices. Next file management. Next is the user interface. With the user interface, the operating system provides the services to work on with the machine. So like this, the layered approach is followed in operating system. So the design is done like this. So next, what are the design goals? The design changes depending on the type of the operating system. The design changes. The design will be changing depending on the requirements. So here I am telling you the design changes depending on the type of the operating system. That is, if it is a batch system, the designing will be deferred. Batch operating system, hope you remembered, we have discussed it in previous class, where all the similar needs or similar kind of applications are sent for an execution at a time. All the processes are divided into batches according to their needs. All the similar needed processes are grouped together and they are called batches. Each batch is sent for an execution. So the design changes depending on the type of the operating system. The operating system can be batch system, it can be time shared system, single user system, where nobody is coming for execution, only one process at a time. Single user means multi-user system, single processor, multiple persons are using. Distributed system, that means multiple processors working for multiple people. So depending on the operating system, the design issues will be changing. So beyond this highest design level, the requirements may be much harder to specify. Not only this, beyond this, specifying the requirements is much harder. Right? Not only this, we have many other things. CPU scheduling. I can tell you another example. CPU scheduling, that is nothing but processor scheduling. Which processor is allocated with which process? So processor allocation is another job, which we call it as CPU scheduling. So that is another requirement. So telling all the requirements or making all the requirements at one place is not an easy job for designing an operating system. So next, so designing an operating system will be a tough task, where there will be we can say two types of goals: user goals and system goals. System goals are nothing but the hardware goals. User goals are nothing but the people who work with the system. So what can be the user's goal? The operating system should be convenient, easy to use. As a human being, I would like to have an easy system. So user requires easy to use, reliable, that means trustable, safe, and fast according to the user. So user wants all these things. These are nothing but the goals of the user. He wants it to be reliable, safe. It should not lose any kind of data. Safe means it should be safe. His data should not be hacked by any other person, and it should be fast, right? And it should be easier to use. So user requires all these kinds of information. So that means these are nothing but the design goals of user. However, these specifications are not very useful. Not very useful. Why? As there is no set method to achieve these goals. We don't have any particular method to achieve these goals. So there is no scientific calculation or scientific way of indicating these are the specific goals required for any person, because these are all changing from person to person. That means user goals are also changing. So these goals are also may not be useful. Next, system goals. The operating system should be easy to design. That means the hardware, the system should be easy to design, easy to implement, and easy to maintain. The components must be easy to design. That means the hardware level. It requires easy to design, easy to implement, and easy to maintain. So the system feels like this. These are specifications required by those who create, that means the person who create the system, maintain and operate the operating system. He's not a user, he is a developer. He is a developer. What he is developing? He is developing an operating system. But there is not specific method, to achieve these goals as well. Because this is also does not have any scientific reason. We cannot say it should be like this only. We feel like this. Agree? Agree with me? So these are all the troubles while designing our operating system. So there are mechanisms and policies associated with operating system. Mechanisms says how to do something. To do something, that means to construct something, how to do is a mechanism. How you have done it. If I have written a routine is nothing but a task. So a mechanism tells how I have done it. Policy tells what to do. That means the terms and conditions associated with the system. So mechanisms and policies related to operating system. So mechanism shows how to do something, how to write this routine, how to achieve this service. Whereas policy shows what to do. If this is the case, what we have to take the necessary action. So what are the terms and conditions of a company? So policies may change over time, and this would lead to changes in mechanism. If the policy of the system, if the policy of the company has changed, the mechanisms needs to be changed. So it is better to have a general mechanism that would require few changes. Because if you write anything very specific to any of the application, if the policy has changed, it requires many changes. So what he is saying is, so it is better to have a general mechanism. That means make it as a general thing. If there is any change, if there is any change in the policy, you can change the mechanism also very easily. Right? Next. So For example, the difference between policy and the mechanism. For example, the timer construct is a mechanism. That means writing a application for the timer is a mechanism for ensuring CPU's protection. But deciding how long the timer is to be set for a particular user is a policy decision. A developer cannot have any right to make a decision. He has to obey the policy of the company. So that is the difference between mechanism. Constructing something, what to do, how to do is a mechanism, whereas what to do is a policy. Mechanisms can be deferred, whereas policy is fixed. The person has to work only based on the policy, because we have many mechanisms to implement anything. But he has to obey the policy of the company. Right? This is an example. So next, design goals in an operating system. So what are the design goals? What can be required? What are the things required to perform to design the operating system? So here in our picture, you can see concurrent systems. It is one kind of issue. Security and privacy, resource sharing, future hardware and software changes, portable operating systems, backward compatibility, no specific users. So these are all the design issues while we construct an operating system. So we have to concentrate on these issues so that we can design our operating system perfectly. So we'll see one by one. Concurrent systems. Concurrent means a parallel computing. That means at a time more than one process can be in an execution. Another thing, concurrent persons also may be there. Multi-user system is also possible. So modern operating system should be able to handle multiple users as well as multiple devices at the same time. In the modern operating system, it should be able to, that means that the operating system should be able to handle multiple users as well as multiple devices at the same time. So with this, what happens? What is an advantage of concurrent systems? So multiple processes will execute in a similar time. What is an advantage of this? When multiple processes are under execution, if one process goes for an IO device, another process will be busy with CPU. Interchange again. If the process goes to an IO, the other process will come for CPU. So at a time, as the CPU is very costlier and it is very essential, our CPU cannot be idle. So concurrent processes allows our CPU busy all the time, because more than one process will be in execution all the time. Right? So modern operating system should be able to handle multiple users as well as multiple devices at the same time. So it is a pressure on the processor because multiple devices are working. Right? So security and privacy. So what is this? Another issue of operating system is security and privacy. So this is very important as there are many malicious users who may want to hack into the computer system and steal user programs. So who may be the malicious users? The persons who wants to steal any of the information, digital information provided in the computer. So the malicious users operating system has to provide the security to stop somebody hacking our information provided in the computer. So this is the another design issue of an operating system. Next is the resource sharing. So this is another another functionality of an operating system. The operating system should make sure that resources are shared in a correct manner between multiple user processes. Resource sharing is the responsibility of an operating system. Here we can talk about the distributed operating system or time sharing operating system. What happens over there? A single processor is shared among different processes. In time sharing operating system, a single processor is shared among different processes. So the resource is shared among different processes. So this is the responsibility of an operating system to share the resources correctly. So this is another design issue. Next, future hardware and software changes. If there is any changes occurred for our application, the operating system should be compatible to adopt into that change. A major design consideration is that the operating system should be able to weather future hardware and software changes. It should be adaptable and not become obsolete. It should not give any problem. It should be compatible to adopt the changes occurred for the hardware and software changes. So this is a major design consideration. Next, portable operating system. Portable means it should be movable from one machine to another. So the operating system should be portable. That is, they should work with different hardwares and machines. They should be compatible, and they should be easier. They should be easier to mingle with a different hardwares and machines. Another design consideration is backward compatibility. That means when it is adopted to the newer version, it should be compatible to the backward OS. The new operating system created should be compatible with the previous models, because that is, they should contain backward compatibility. So it is another design consideration. Finally, no specific types of users. We cannot say these kind of people will use this. Here we can say an example of an e-commerce website. We will be finding a different kinds of users. One person will see only for the time pass. One person will see and he'll feel, oh no, it's very costly, so I will not buy. One person will see according to his need. He will definitely buy because he don't have any other way to go and buy. So the operating system should consider that there are different kinds of people. So your operating system should be comfortable with different kinds of users. So operating system should be developed keeping in mind a general user, because we cannot write an operating system for a single type of person. General user base, so that many users can use them. Same way, the e-commerce site is open for all kind of users. You can go and see and leave. You can go and see and compare with other things, and you can leave. You can go and buy. So it is designed in such a way that everybody is comfortable. So generally it is made. Even specially developed operating systems that target a single user base contain generality. If anything which is which is intended for a single user base, also contains generality. Right? So next, after design, so any software after design, operating system is nothing but a software. So after design, we have seen the issues of the operating system design. So implementation. The operating system needs to be implemented after it is designed. Earlier, they were written in assembly language. Assembly language is nothing but a symbolic language. Using mnemonics, we used to write the high-level language. But now, we use higher-level language. High-level language, like our C and C++. So, what are the advantages of high-level language? The code is written more fast. It is compact and also easier to debug and understand. It is very easier to debug. Debug is nothing but finding an error. Error-free, making an error-free. Debug and understand. Also, the operating system can be easily moved from one hardware to another. That means it is portable if it is written in a high-level language, because it can be executed anywhere. Disadvantages of high-level language: it leads to a loss in speed and increase in storage requirements. This is the disadvantage of operating system. Next, and the last topic of our today's video lesson is operating system structures. As we have different kinds of requirements needed for implementing an operating system cannot be implemented as a monolithic. So based on the different tasks incorporated for an operating system is designed in the smaller chunks, which is nothing but the modules. So it is divided as different modules. So based on that, based on how our operating system is implemented, we have different types of structures mentioned here. The simple and the first one is a simple structure. A simple structure. The name indicates it's a simple structure. There are many operating systems that have a rather simple structure. Other than simple structure, we have many other operating systems. These started as small systems and rapidly expanded much further and their scope. They are started as a simple one with a limited functionality, with limited hardware requirements, limited compatibility, with no security. It is started very small, but the scope is very much increased. A common example of this is MS-DOS, and Unix also comes into this. MS-DOS, Microsoft Disk Operating System. So it supports a simple structure of our operating system. So you can see here an image to illustrate the structure of MS-DOS as follows. So here you can see an application program, system program, MS-DOS device drivers, ROM BIOS device drivers. BIOS is nothing but input outputs. So you can see here, everything is interconnected. There is no interface between an application program and BIOS device drivers. You can see here an application program can directly interact with your input output. So there is no security involved here. There is no security involved here. The application program can access directly your device drivers. Hope you know the difference between application program and system program. Application program is like our a normal program which is used for the user, like our C program, C++, Java program, they are all comes under application program. Simply your app. Whereas the system program is the program which supports to execute your machine. Device drivers, MS-DOS device drivers are required for an operating system. BIOS device drivers are nothing but your input-output devices. So this is the disadvantage of simple structure. Right? Next is the layered structure. Layered structure. So here everything is made as layered. Layer 0 to layer n. So every layer is independent of their own operations. So they can be debugged on their own. Debugged, I've told you, debugged is executed at the same place, making it as error free. So one way to achieve modularity, a new word again. What is the modularity? Modularity is nothing but making it as a simpler task. I have spoke already in the initial stage. As an operating system has many responsibilities, it cannot be made it as monolithic structure. It has to be divided into simpler tasks, simpler chunks. So one way to achieve the modularity, modules means a simpler task. To achieve the modularity in an operating system, it is the layered approach. In this, the bottom layer is the hardware. That means layer 0 is the hardware, and the topmost layer is the user interface. What is the user interface? User interface is nothing but the display where it shows how you can interact with your machine. So the main advantage of the layered approach is the simplicity of construction and debugging. It is simple because each layer is independent of their own. Layer 0 is debugged first, then the layer 2, layer 0, then layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and so on. So if there is any problem occurred at layer 0, it does not affect any other layers. It does not go for the higher layers. So each and every operation is independent at that layer itself. So like this, the layered approach will be, layer 0 is entirely a hardware, layer 1, CPU scheduling, message passing, everything comes here, memory management, file management, everything will be deferred from one layer to another layer. Next. So the main disadvantage of this structure is that at each layer, the data needs to be modified and passed on, which adds overhead to the system. Each layer, the data is independent. That means it has to be passed on to the next layer. So it is making an overhead. Next, moreover, careful planning of the layers is necessary. We have to distribute the work to each layer. So careful planning of each layer is required here. As a layer can use only lower level layers. Unix is an example of this structure. So this operating system layered structure is used in Unix operating system. Next is microkernel system structure. Here we are making the microkernel. Micro means simpler. We know the kernel which has an access to all the devices, all the resources available with our machine. So we have another structure here called microkernel. What does it do? We'll see. This structure designs the operating system by removing all non-essential components from the kernel, because the kernel is already fed with many responsibilities. So what does it do? In this structure, all the non-essential components are removed from the kernel and implementing them as system and user programs. So the non-essential things are taken away from the kernel and they are made as user programs. This results in a smaller kernel called the microkernel. So advantages of this structure are that all new services need to be added to user space and does not require the kernel to be modified. So these all new services are added at user mode. In previous video lesson, I have explained you user mode and kernel mode. Kernel mode is more privileged than user mode. So here what he is explaining, so there is a difference between user mode and kernel mode. Whatever the application programs we have, everything will be executed at the user level. So user will be accessing the services of the kernel mode only by making use of system call. So whenever there is a new service added to the operating system, it does not require to be added to the kernel. It is required to be added at the user mode. So thus it is more secure and reliable. It is trustable. As if a service fails, then rest of the operating system remains untouched because the kernel is more responsible for the operating system. So if there is anything failed, it does not touch the other system. That means the remaining system will not be disturbed. So Mac OS is an example of this type of operating system. Mac OS is nothing but Macintosh operating system. So this is an example. So you can see here the two differences. First part, this part is made as user mode and this part is made as kernel mode. So the other things, the unnecessary things, the non-essential components of kernel is divided and it is made as user mode. Right? Only the kernel mode is having the basic duties of its own. So it does not bother about all the things and it does not require to be changed when any other new service comes to this. So the kernel is made independent of all other services which are coming to it. So whenever you get any other new service added, that will be added to user. So see here, you have device driver, file system, application program. They are all in user mode. Whereas inter-process communication, IPC, memory management, CPU scheduling are the features, or the responsibilities of kernel mode. So they are made into microkernel. And they have the access with the hardware. Here you can see another thing. This is message passing. Message from one user program to another user program. One application to another application is done by making use of message passing. So this is differentiated as user mode, whereas this is differentiated as kernel mode. So this communication, whenever it requires any access with the hardware, it will call a system call. It is done through system call. So next is a module-based structured approach. It's a module-based approach. So modules, it is making it as modules. Modules are nothing but a simpler task. A complex task can be divided into a simple task. Most modern operating systems implement kernel modules. So here it uses object-oriented approach. Core components are separated. Each task to the other over known interfaces. Each task to others over known interfaces. So that means with the known idea, that means interfaces are nothing but the displays. So using the known displays, each kernel talks with others. So each is loadable as needed within the kernel. So kernel will take care of all these things. Overall, similar to layers, that means it is similar to layered approach, but with more flexible. Because it is more flexible than layered approach. It works like a layered thing. Here we are making it as modules. Instead, in the layered approach, we are making it as layers, whereas here we are making it as modules. So here it uses object-oriented approach. We have an idea. Object-oriented approach means everything is made as objects, classes and objects. So here it is again using the concept of object-oriented approach. Each core component is separate and each talks to others over known interfaces. Right? So module-based approach, these are the things. Each kernel is having different modules associated with it, scheduling the classes, file systems, loadable system calls, executable formats, streams modules, miscellaneous modules, device and bus drivers. So the kernel has a set of core components. This is what explained in the previous slide. Core component is separate. It's a set of core components and links in additional services via modules. They are linked with the other modules either at boot time or during runtime. Booting is while loading an operating system. Runtime is while executing. This type of design is common in modern implementations of Unix, such as Solaris, Linux, and Macintosh operating system X, as well as Windows. So this approach is used in this modern applications, modern operating systems. So finally, hybrid systems. Hybrid is nothing but adding more than one design, adding more than one operating system. So same thing here. If one operating system is suitable for some set of requirements, other operating system may be suitable for another set of requirements. So many operating systems are not based on one model of the operating system. They may contain multiple operating systems that have different approaches to performance. Right? One is suitable for one operating system may be suitable for time sharing, another may be suitable for batch system, and another may be suitable for security. This is known as hybrid operating system. So adding different types of operating system at one place, that means including one machine can be loaded with more than one operating system. So that kind of system we call it as hybrid system. So some of the features I have mentioned here. In a hybrid operating system, two operating systems may execute on a single device. This can be done by dividing the memory and processor between the operating system. So the memory and the processor are divided to different operating systems. The two operating systems on a computer system may include a full-fledged operating system and a lightweight operating system. Right? Another method to handle two operating systems on the same device is to use hypervisors. This is a software layer. Hypervisor is a software layer between the hardware and the guest operating system. Because two operating systems, one is the main operating system, another one is the guest operating system, which provides a virtualized hardware. That means which is a virtualized thing to the guest operating system. So hypervisors are used to work like in this kind of environment. Both the operating system in the hybrid environment may be aware of the other operating system and share resources with each other. So this kind of environments, right? So these kind of environments may be using for different kinds of applications. Let me explain once again some of the features for hybrid systems. In hybrid operating systems, two operating systems, that means one for some kind of requirements, another operating system for some other requirements, may execute on a single device. Single device may have more than one operating system. It can be done by dividing the memory and processor between the operating systems. That means they are sharing the processor as well as memory. Next thing, the two operating systems on a computer system may include a full-fledged operating system and a lightweight operating system. It can have both. Another method to handle two operating systems on the same device is to use hypervisors. It provides us a normal operating system and another guest operating system. One is having an original hardware and memory. Another thing is having a virtualized hardware to the guest operating system. And the last and the final, both the operating system in hybrid environment may be aware of the other operating system and share the resources with each other. One operating system knows that I have connected with another operating system. So a single processor or a RAM on an IO devices must be shared among both of us, right? So with this, we have seen the two topics, design and implementation issues of operating system, as well as different types of structures available for operating systems. Thank you.